What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. I apologize in advance before we get into this if I sound a bit more monotone or if I'm not able to project my voice as much as normal. I was dealing with some stuff yesterday, had to raise my voice a bit, and therefore I kind of lost my voice today. But regardless, let's go ahead and get right into this. First things first, Unicorn Overlord released and the reviews went live. Now, this released on March 8th. It is sitting at an 86 according to the critics and an 8.4 according to the user score. Now, since it's been almost like a week since then, or actually no, by the time this video goes up, it has been a full week. Yeah, I've already beaten this game and it was great. If you're looking for something a little bit different to try, I can highly recommend this one. Next up, the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection released. It released yesterday from the time of this video going up, that being March 14th, and right now it is sitting at an 83 on Metacritic. User score is not available yet, but personally I picked it up on my Switch because I was looking at all the consoles it's releasing for, and I was like, hey, if I'm gonna get it for any console, I might as well get it for the Switch, just so then, you know, anytime that I'm out and about, or anytime that I'm just like laying in bed, and I'm like, hey, I want to hop into an instant action match real quick, then, you know, I can do that. It runs great on there. It looks great in docked, looks great in handheld. It's running at a buttery smooth 60 FPS. I mean, and I can only imagine on like the PS5 and the Series X and all that is probably up at like 4K and everything. So yeah, I can highly recommend this one. The one thing that they were saying before release though, which I am still kind of iffy on, is the whole thing with the AI upscaling they used. It's pretty evident in some points. Like when it comes to playing this game on console, I can say I'll most definitely just be going back to like my original Xbox and my PlayStation 2 and stuff like that when I want to replay these games. But hey, having it on the Switch, having that portability option, and just like if I'm already on my Switch and have that inkering, just like, hey, you know, I'm already on my Switch, might as well just open it up here, then, you know, it's cool to have it for that. Next up, EA released a bunch of their classic games on Steam. Now, I don't think anybody was expecting this because it's EA, but anyway, this coming from EA on X, quote, let the nostalgia begin. 9 classic EA games are available to play on Steam starting today, those being Command & Conquer, the Ultimate Collection, SimCity 3000 Unlimited, Populous, Populous 2 Trials of the Olympic Gods, Populous The Beginning, Dungeon Keeper Gold, Dungeon Keeper 2, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauria Planetary Pack, and the Saboteur, which is one that I was really not expecting, because that's also one that's going up in price when it comes to like the PS3 and the 360 physical copies, so it's cool to see it being like made more readily available here. Hopefully that'll help alleviate some of the prices on the secondhand market, but knowing how the secondhand market works, that probably won't happen. Regardless, an amazing lineup of games here, and if I could point out some underrated ones, Command & Conquer and Dungeon Keeper. Those are two that come to mind where it's just like, hey, more people should be playing these, especially something like Dungeon Keeper. Amazing series. Now let's hope that this is a sign of things to come, whether EA decides to bring back these IPs or whether they just decide to release more classic games. Let's just see more of this, period. Next up, Kien is releasing for the Game Boy Advance after 22 years of development. This coming from IncubateGames.com. Quote, unreleased and originally developed in the early 2000s, Kien will be out early Q2 this year. Kien is a very challenging game. It is in some way a pre-Souls-like game. The fights are always very intense and challenging. The missions and paths between the various levels and worlds are truly torturous and all to be discovered by playing, making mistakes, dying. Many players will like it, but others definitely won't. That coming from Fabio Balsanti, the lead game designer at Age of Games, formerly working at PM Studios. First things first, I love me a good Souls-like, so you already got my interest there, but furthermore, I mean, it's a GBA game releasing in 2024. I'm definitely buying this. Right now it's available for 60 bucks, and you know, it comes with the whole shebang. You know, the cartridge, the GBA box, the manual and stuff like that inside, so yeah, definitely gonna be getting this one. Next up, the TopSpin 2K25 release date was announced. It'll be coming out April 26, 2024. I'm super excited for this because the last TopSpin game released back in 2011 on the 360 and PS3. I really enjoyed those games back in the day, whether it is on, you know, like the 7th gen consoles or even going back as far as something like the original Xbox. These games were always a lot of fun. Now, granted, it is a modern 2K title, so the monetization is yet to be announced or seen, and, you know, we know how that goes with some 2K games, but I'm holding out hope, pretty excited for this. Definitely will be picking this one up because I've been waiting for a while. Next up, Summer Game Fest was announced and confirmed for this year. This coming from Summer Game Fest on X. Quote, it's officially official. On Friday, June 7th, Summer Game Fest streams live from YouTube Theater in LA at 2 p.m. PT, 5 p.m. ET, and 9 p.m. GMT. A 2-hour showcase of what's next in gaming. Sign up now at summergamefest.com for event alerts, end quote. So obviously, E3 is kind of dead, so this is like the next best thing, so nothing can ever truly replace E3, but regardless, I'm super excited for this. Next up, unfortunately, Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama has passed away. That's coming from the Dragon Ball X account. Quote, dear friends and partners, we're deeply saddened to inform you that manga creator Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st due to acute subdural hematoma. He was an age of 68. It's our deep regret that he still had several works in the middle of creation with great enthusiasm. Also, he would have many more things to achieve. However, he has left many manga titles and works of art to this world. world. Thanks to the support of so many people around the world, he has been able to continue his creative activities for over 45 years. We hope that Akira Toriyama's unique world of creation continues to be loved by everyone for a long time to come. We inform you this sad news with gratefulness for your kindness during his lifetime. Funeral service was held with his family and very few relatives. Following his wishes for tranquility, we respectfully inform you that we would not accept flowers, condolence gifts, visiting, offerings, and others. Also, we ask you to refrain from conducting interviews with his family. Future plan for commemorate gathering is not decided. We will let you know when it's confirmed. We deeply thank you for your understanding and support as always. March 8th, 2024, Bird Studio, Capcom Corporation, Tokyo. It is worth noting that this was being translated from Japanese. That's why some of the way that the grammatical structure was a little bit off at some points. But regardless, I mean, there's really nothing that can be said here. I mean, I love Dragon Ball. I've talked about it time and time again, whether it be the original run, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, even Dragon Ball GT, all the movies. I absolutely love I even have like a Dragon Ball poster in my room. Dragon Ball, words cannot describe just what this series means to me, whether it's the anime, whether it's the manga, whether it's the video games, whether it's the characters, the amazing art style. There's been so many times in my life where I'm already in a good mood and Dragon Ball just boosts my mood, or I've been sad and Dragon Ball just helped me feel better, or I'll be just stressed out and just, you know, just listening to Goku scream is almost enough to like get the screams that I wish I could let out. You know, he lets them out for me. And this next bit is a little personal, but I will say this much. If you've seen Dragon Ball, you know how Goku can eat. He can eat a lot of food, and a couple years ago, I was unfortunately struggling with anorexia, and it was at a point of where my body was shutting down, meaning if I didn't reverse course quickly, there's a chance that I may not even be here right now. But through watching Dragon Ball, you know, every time that I was like struggling to get better, every time I was like, I can't do this, I can't get, like, I don't even want to get better, whatever. Every time I watch Dragon Ball and see Goku like pounding down a bowl of noodles, that was like my inspiration. I'd be like, if Goku can do it, I can do it. As corny as it sounds, like surely, like even small stuff like that helped motivate me. And the whole time that I was recovering, I watched so much Dragon Ball. I played so many Dragon Ball games, just going back to nostalgic ones from my past, like Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi, and other games like, you know, Legacy of Goku and the GBA, and just, you know, all the various Dragon Ball games and stuff. And it's literally impossible to describe in words what this franchise means to me. So if there's anything I can lead this at, it's just thank you so much, Akira Toriyama, for your work, for the world, for the art, for everything that you created. And it goes beyond Dragon Ball. He had a hand in so many other things, like Blue Dragon on the Xbox 360, or, you know, some of the like design and artwork and like Chrono Trigger and other animes that he's worked on. But Akira Toriyama, thank you so much for your work, just that you did throughout your entire lifetime, and may you rest in peace. Next up, and I'm sure this won't shock anybody, but it seems like digital PS5 games are being erased from users' libraries. Once again, I always say buy physical, but we won't go into that right now. Anyway, this coming from DSuds2342 on Reddit. Quote, PSA, people are losing access to their digital licenses and people need to be talking about it. For the last few months, there's been a bug impacting a relatively small amount of PSN users in which all digital licenses become decoupled from your transaction history, which shows you purchased those things. It's also worth noting that this does include not only purchased games, but also games that have been added through like PS Plus. If this happens to you, your transaction history will look totally normal, but your purchase tab in your games library on the PlayStation.com website will only show titles that were added after you became afflicted by the bug. Any games before you were hit with the bug will be inaccessible on console. If you try to download them, it will want you to rebuy/re-add from PS Plus, but when you try to do that, it will tell you that you already own the content. Install games impacted by the bug will show a padlock icon and can't be launched. It does appear that some degree of impact from the bug may be able to be mitigated, and that's the purpose of this PSA. The exact sequence of events that nuked my licenses was me trying to launch a game, that being Helldivers 2, and getting an error message CE117776. Google told me to restore licenses, and doing that is what wiped me out. But this was on the morning of March 3rd, and looking at the timeline of exactly where my cutoff is in terms of games I do and don't have access to, it looks like I began to be impacted 3 days earlier around 11:50 p.m. on February 29th. In that 2-day span, I continued to play games I now don't have access to, including playing my now inaccessible digital purchase of Gran Turismo 7 literally minutes before the aforementioned sequence of events occurred. So with that in mind, I suspect that if I had never run the restore licenses process, that I would still have access to all of my games on my PS5, other than probably Helldivers 2. So my recommendation to anyone who gets any error message whatsoever when trying to launch a game that previously launched normally would be to first go to PlayStation.com and check your game library. Look at the purchases tab and make sure it matches your full history of games purchased / added from PS Plus. If anything whatsoever looks incorrect, do not run restore licenses on your console. They had that in all caps, end quote. So I guess be careful of this. Don't be doing the whole restore licenses thing, and I mean, I wouldn't know anything about it. I only buy games physically, but yeah, I mean, just another reason to not buy digital games. Next up, a ton of emulators have shut down. Now, obviously, this kind of follows the fallout of Yuzu. Some of these may be affected by that. Some of these may not be, in terms of, like, you know, some of these may be caused of that, where, like, the developers are like, hey, we don't want to mess with Nintendo, so now they're getting scared and shutting things down, but it's hard to say. Anyway, we have a couple to go through. The first one being Drastic DS. It was a paid emulator on Android, but now they've made it free and are going to be taking it down. The next up being the Pizza Boy, Gameboy, and GBA emulators. So this coming from The Verge, quote, another emulator is shutting down. The Pizza emulators, which made Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color emulators on Android, has pulled all of its apps from the Google Play Store. In a message on Discord, developer David Berra writes that he's shutting down the emulators, quote, to prioritize my family over the development of my apps, end quote. And then the other one to go was EtherSX2, but this one may be unrelated, just because if you know anything about EtherSX2, well, it's a whole situation there. But anyway, this coming from GBA 10, quote, the highly controversial PlayStation 2 emulator, yeah, it's a great way to start things out, the highly controversial, but anyway, the highly controversial PlayStation 2 emulator for Android devices, EtherSX2, has been removed from the Google Play Store starting from March 10, 2024. This doesn't come as a surprise for many, though, as the EtherSX2 emulator halted development entirely back in 2023, with the developer specifically mentioning the never-ending impersonating complaints, demands, and now death threats. Although it took almost a year for the actual emulator app to be taken down from the Play Store following the discontinuation of the project, end quote. So again, EtherSX2, originally, it seemed like it was going to be a thing where it was going to stay up anyway, even though the developer wasn't working on it, but now maybe it's come down because of the whole Yuzu situation. Maybe it's just because, I mean, you know, there's like a whole history there as is, so it's hard to stay on that one, but it does seem likely that maybe the Jurassic DS, well, definitely the Jurassic DS, from how the developer was talking, it seems like that one is a direct result of the Yuzu thing. Same thing with the Pizza Boy one, you know, they try to say it was because of whatever, but I don't know, the timing, I'm not here to speculate, but, you know, that's just my take on it. But regardless, a bunch of amazing emulators have shut down, and that is always unfortunate. Next up, Deviation Games is shutting down, which is really unfortunate, because if you know anything about Deviation Games, they had people like Jason Blundell there, which was responsible for some of, like, the most amazing campaigns and zombies maps in the Call of Duty games. But this coming from Christy Stahl on LinkedIn, quote, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Deviation Games. I want to express my deepest gratitude to our entire team. Thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and contributions to Deviation. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have worked with each and every one of you, end quote. So, yeah, I mean, we never really got to know what they were working on exactly. It seemed like it was going to be huge, but then all of a sudden people started leaving, like Jason Blundell, and then there was also this other YouTuber that was working there, JC Backfire. He ended up leaving and going to where Jason Blundell ended up going, which it's kind of weird how this all worked out, because Deviation Games was technically like, you know, kind of like working with Sony, but then Jason Blundell and some of the other guys went to just work for Sony directly, or one of Sony's like first-party studios, I guess, and now they're working on a thing. So, and then Deviation Games was just sort of kind of left there working on whatever they started, but obviously now it's all just scraps. So yeah, the studio just got started up like a year or two ago, and now it's already shut down, which is really unfortunate. But hopefully the developers that work there are able to find new work soon, or hey, maybe they can even be migrated to the studio that Jason Blundell and, you know, all the other guys are at now. But again, it's really unfortunate. I was looking forward to seeing what they were cooking up, but now we'll never know unless it, you know, leaks out. Next up, MultiVersus is finally coming back. Now, I know some people kind of got burnt after, you know, the first run of things where they took the game down, because that means all the purchases you made on the battle passes and the skins kind of got taken away from you. But they're bringing the game back, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to keep your cosmetics and stuff that you paid for. Don't quote me on that. If not, that would really suck, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Anyway, this coming from Video Games Chronicle, quote, MultiVersus will officially return on May 28th. In a new video revealing the game's re-release date, game director Tony Huni, I'm not really sure how to say that, explained that previous criticisms have been taken on board. Quote, the team has heard your feedback, and we learned a lot from our open beta. We've been working hard on a variety of changes and updates to deliver an improved gameplay experience. These changes include the addition of some really exciting brand new personalities to the roster, new stages, improved netcode, and new moves for each character. The game is also shifted to Unreal Engine 5, and a new PvE mode will be introduced with unique rewards, end quote. So when I hear PvE, the first thing my mind goes to is like Subspace Emissary from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Like, is there a possibility that we could see like a full-on campaign sort of like that? Or, you know, maybe I'm setting my expectations a bit too high here, but I mean, hey, if it could be even anything that's like half as cool as that, that would be pretty sick. But regardless, I mean, that's all that I gotta say. I mean, yeah, the game's coming out again on May 28th. Pretty sure it's still gonna be free to play, so, you know, that's exciting. I really enjoyed this game the first time around, so I'll definitely be diving back into it. Next up, Starbreeze has decided to part ways with its CEO after Payday 3's questionable release. This coming from GameDeveloper.com, quote, Payday 3 developer Starbreeze believes it needs different leadership to bolster the performance of its own franchises and is looking for a new CEO as a result. In a notice to investors, the Swedish company explained it has bid farewell to CEO Tobias Sjörgen after 3 years at the helm and is searching for a new long-term successor. In the meantime, board member Jörgen Goldner has been named interim CEO and will take office with immediate effect. Discussing Sjörgen's departure, Starbreeze chairman Tjorgny Hellstrom, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with these pronunciations, suggested the company is searching for a leader that can more effectively execute on its current business strategy. Quote, the company has a clear strategy centered around creating attractive games on our own and licensed IPs. The board's consolidated assessment is that the execution of strategy needs a different leadership, said Hellstrom. On behalf of the board of directors, I would like to thank Tobias Sjörgen for his achievements during the past 3 years. Tobias took over the helm of Starbreeze in a challenging phase of its journey, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. End quote. So, yeah, the last guy, he became a part of Starbreeze and kind of helped get Payday 3 out the door in the first place, but if you ask some people, it might have been better if that never happened at all. Me personally, I have really been enjoying Payday 3, but at the same time, I've also found myself going back to Payday 2 still for my Payday fix, so it's one of those things where Payday 3 is a lot of fun, but yeah, it definitely seems like this one just maybe I should have had a little bit more time in the oven, or maybe like the developers should have had, you know, more room to work with to really flesh out all their ideas, because every time that I'm playing the game, I'm just like, you know, I see a lot of like modern live servicey stuff here, but that really doesn't seem like what the Payday developers, you know, at least the Payday developers that we knew making like Payday 1 and 2, especially something like Payday 2. This doesn't exactly seem like the next step for what they would have wanted to do, so we'll see how this game evolves, we'll see what happens with the company, and honestly, my fingers are crossed, and I just hope that only good things come of this. Next up, 2 games are free on Epic Games this week, the first being Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and the second one being The Bridge. These are free until March 21st at 11 a.m. EST, so you might as well redeem them because they're free. One thing worth noting, this may bother some people, is that Deus Ex Mankind Divided does end on a cliffhanger, and there's no sequel that has been announced, and the only sequel that was in development has been canceled, so there's a chance that we'll never see this followed up on, so just keep that in mind before you play it. Next up, we got the March PS Plus Extra and Premium games for you guys, those being Blood Bowl 3, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, the PS5 version specifically, LEGO DC Supervillains, Marvel's Midnight Suns, super underrated game, highly recommend that one, Mystic Pillars Remastered, NBA 2K24 Kobe Bryant Edition, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Super Neptunia RPG, and then on the premium side of things, we got Cool Borders, God's Eater Burst, Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. If I could recommend any underrated ones, again, for the extra tier, I'd probably say Marvel's Midnight Suns. And on the premium side of things, oh man, this one's tough. You know, Phoenix Wright is one that a lot of people know, so I'll just say God's Eater Burst. That's one that more people should definitely play. Next up, Capcom had 2 event/highlights things that took place. It was like a 2-day event, so the first, it was basically like 2 different videos. They dropped one the one day and then the next the other day. So day 1, there was a 48-minute and 39-second long video where they talked about Dragon's Dogma 2, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, and basically this was just them going more in depth about the gameplay and just, you know, more about the games themselves. But at the end of the first day, they also announced that Monster Hunter Stories 2 will be coming to the PS4 June 14th. There was some confusion about this online for some reason, but I don't really see why. I mean, like, obviously, you know, if the PS4 can run the game, why not just release it on the PS4? It's also backwards compatible with the PS5 then, so it's like, I mean, I don't know what the big deal was there. It's a win-win for the consumer and the company. The company gets more money, and the consumers, well, there's more consumers that can play, period, because there's plenty of people that still don't have a PS5. But then on the second day, there was another video. It was literally 27 minutes long on the dot. They announced that Akuma is coming to Street Fighter 6 this spring, and Mega Man. Yeah, it's not a new Mega Man game, though. It's Mega Man and Exoprimal crossover, so yeah, it's cool. You'll be able to dress up in an exosuit that sort of looks like Mega Man, but yeah, I don't know. That's pretty cool. Exoprimal's a fun game and all. I just, you know, I wish we could get another. I wish we could get another Mega Man game. And finally, we got a recap of everything that was announced on Mario Day, that being March 10th. So they announced that a Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel is in the works. That'll be releasing April 3rd, 2026. kind of crazy how they have that release date just, you know, in place already. It's very different in, you know, in like the games or the music industry where they wait last second to, you know, announce something, but the movies industry, no, they're 2 years ahead of it. Next, we got a release date for the Mario the Thousand Year Door remake, that coming out May 23rd at $59.99. Then we got a release date for the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD remake. The original game was called Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS, but now they changed the name. Anyway, that'll be coming out June 27th, and that one is also $59.99. There was some controversy there online, but I'm biased. I just want more of the Luigi's Mansion series. Even if this is a remake, I have no problem paying for it because I love this series. I can kind of understand the confusion or frustration there, especially when a game like Metroid Prime Remastered came out at like $39.99 and arguably took more work to recreate than Luigi's Mansion 2, but again, conversation for another day. They also announced and put out some new games for the Nintendo Switch Online and Game Boy specifically, those being Dr. Mario, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. And before you think, hey, it's like Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, that sounds kind of generic. No, these are like full-on RPGs. If just look into it a bit, okay? I remember back in the day when I first played those games, I wasn't expecting them to be like full-on RPGs, but then I played them and my mind was blown. And even go back to them to this day, like it still blows my mind. Just amazing how fleshed out those games are. And Dr. Mario, I mean, you can never go wrong with Dr. Mario. But then after that, at the very end, they announced that new LEGO Mario Kart sets are going to be coming out in 2025. They also ended up announcing, this didn't happen during the show, but it happened later, LEGO announced like new LEGO Mario sets. Those being Bowser Express for $120, King Boo's Mansion for $75, and the Battle with Roy for $65, and those will be launching August 1st. And again, the Mario Kart set is going to be coming out in 2025. But that is everything that was announced, and surprisingly enough, all of that happened within like 3 minutes. It was like a super short mini Mario Day Direct, you could almost call it, but a lot of stuff was announced, and yeah, I was very happy with literally all of it. But anyway, that is all the stories that I got for you guys this week, so I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on everything that we talked about? Whether it's all the emulators shutting down, whether it's Mario Day, whether it's all the games are released. What do you think about EA releasing all their or not all of them, but you know, a lot of classic games on Steam? Are you hoping that they do more of that? Are you hoping that maybe this means to revive some of these IPs? Just whatever it is, whatever you're thinking, I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. But anyway, this is Weekly GCap. New episodes go live every single Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, so if you want to catch them as soon as they go live, well then, I don't want to be here. But anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.